You want this?
Yeah, he'll go right here with me. If you're on anything but HDMI, I'm on HDMI. Your HDMI perfect. This cord will pass it down when I'm introducing you. What do you mean? You're regular? You don't have HDMI on there?
Is this yours or was it?
You get that, you don't have to plug it in after. Okay, if there's anybody outside that wants to come in, if you can get, we'll grab a seat here and get rolling on the drill session. Is it showing, Phil? Okay, we'll start. We'll grab a seat here, and if we can get the doors closed in the back, be awesome. Once again, I want to thank our volunteers here today. My assistant, Phil's panicking right now. I moved him to Saturday because it's always tough to get the speakers to go on Saturday, and his flight's out in about an hour and a half there, so got to get him to the airport. So he's going to start it off, and he's not going to look rude by leaving early. So Phil Roy is going to do transitional offense here with his presentation.
Morning, everybody. So it was a fun year for us. We had 8 freshmen, and this year, and a lot of times 8 of the freshmen were in the lineup. So this is a system, this is habits that we had to develop, so that everybody was on the same page, especially on the offensive side. And we just felt that obviously we wanted to create more offense and outmen opposition. So the design of this is clearly on habits. So this is something I came across over the last couple of years, and it just, it was games 4, second OT, transitional play, started from the defensive side, obviously a 3-on-2 with a late back checker, and then forced the back checker to make a bad decision. So we had a little bit of a coaches symposium earlier this year up in the North Country. It was hosted by Northwood. And these are some of the transitional goals that were researched by an individual on the NHL level from last year. So you could see that the trend on transitional goals, 44% came from the defensive side of the transitional play, 28% in the neutral zone, and 27% in the offensive zone. So that in mind, obviously, we started to think as a staff with the freshmen that we have, how do we incorporate our habits? How do we incorporate quick execution so that when there's a break in the game, everyone can just think about the same thing. They know where to attack, and they know where their teammates will be. So this is a drill that we've been using, and I apologize because our video guy was sick that day, so he couldn't film that practice drill that we did. But this is a drill that we do probably the second drill of practice after coaches warmed up their goalies on one end, our guys are on the other end doing a quick passing drill. Then we'll go to this drill to warm up the goaltenders. So I don't know if the cursor works here, but you can see at the bottom, D starts at the face-off dot, skate up to the face-off circle, pivot backwards all the way towards the goal line. There's a puck waiting for him there, picks up the puck, goes around the net. At the same time, both wingers, left wingers and right wingers, are being active, coming nice and low. Defense goes behind the net, and at that point of the decision, it could be a rim or a pass tape to tape. That weak side winger comes across, which is a slash motion for us on our breakouts. We activate the weak side winger to slash across, puck support, put some pressure on the strong side D. And then that winger that gets the puck from the defenseman, he's got decisions to make. It could be a chip, it could be a direct pass, it could be a collect, start skating, and then pass to that winger. Once the winger gets the puck, then zone entry at that point, there's three decisions he can make. One is the first one here that's described, which is drive wide. At that point, the strong side winger that made that play at the defensive zone comes in. There could be a middle lane drive with a pass. Second option is that strong side winger who has the puck zone entry can go inside out, pivot the D, make the D pivot towards the middle, and then far side pad shot for that winger driving in. Or the last one is a pull up, so drive in, separate yourself from the D, and then a far pad shot for that middle lane drive. Once that happens, the next slide is our D after the breakout pass goes up to the far blue line. So we've got a little bit of a cycle go on. Net front grabs a puck in the corner, cycle with the other forward, and then it could be a pass, quick shot from the D. D can go to the middle, and then we want wall board side support from our wing. So the focus of this drill, the objective of this drill, obviously, is to warm up our goalies, game-like shots. We're talking about breakout habits, and then obviously the secondary, which is zone entry and offensive zone habits. Focus, obviously breakout. We want on the first drill, on the first part of that drill, that D to be explosive from the face-off dot to the top of the circles, change of directions, pivot with speed. He gets that puck tape to tape, get up ice as quickly as possible, get his feet in position, and then obviously from there we're looking at timing with the communication part of the wingers, zone entry, like I've mentioned, drive wide, deep curl, and then offensive zone to make sure we've got wall support and net front position. So the next drill, I'll have a video with this on, so just bear with me. I'll run through this. So center's at the bottom of the red circle, red line. It's a D to D pass with middle support. So D to D, center's in the middle, gets the puck back. At that same time, the left wing curls into the red line, towards the red line support. He gets the puck from that center. So that first shot is from that left wing. Then that center picks up another puck where the left wing was at the far blue line, comes right back, reloads with the D, D1, D2. He gets the puck back again, and that right wing does the exact same thing, opens up, Mohawk towards the boards, and center gets the puck, and now the center kicks it to the far wall where the right wing is for shot number 2. And then after that, we've got a cycle again on one of those corners, and then we incorporate different things with our D end zone. It could be a high roll, it could be a slash across, it could be a D to D, or a D to D back to D. Here's a quick video. I'm not sure how to stop this. So if you focus on the green, center's here's D to D, that's the first pass, second pass for the first shot. Then that center at that far blue line on the left-hand side picks up another puck, reloads with the same D, gets the pass. We could see that on the green side here. Now they're going to the far end. Middle lane drive. And then with the whites, exact same thing. Almost scored the goal like Martinez for LA. And then if you keep on the strong side here with the whites, we've told our D for this drill, for that specific practice, that we wanted them to V in. So we wanted them to activate top of the circles and then release weak side. And that was the focus of our end zone from the D. So the objective here was speed, communication, neutral zone habits, and then secondary, obviously, zone in, zone entrance, and offensive zone. And what's really nice about this drill for us, we felt it was just game-like. It was a lot of movement. You got to keep your head up, and obviously good passing. And then moving on from our building, from the practice that we're building up, then we would go half ice. We'd work on repetition on our breakouts, which is obviously all of our breakouts here, D to D and so on. One that we specifically would work on depending on our weeks. Let's say we'd reverse with our center, activate our weak side D so he can jump in as an option for the strong side winger. Talked about the objective and the focus communication. We'd looking for a slash, D support, and center low. Next part of that would be, again, full ice at this point. Would be same process as far as our breakout with 1 forechecker, 2 forechecker, and then 5-on-5. And I have video for this one. So 1 forechecker versus white, reverse here. What I like about this clip is on the reverse, that weak side D, number 4, he's got the mentality and the habit that he's going to support and be an option for that strong side winger. You can see our weak side winger, he's slashing across, so the habits are in there. That's what we're looking for. Second part of this drill, 2 forecheckers now. Communication with the goalie. That's great forechecking by our guys. That's a different topic. And then the last part, it's a 5-on-5 with 3 forecheckers in there. So again, repetition, repetition, repetition. And then our last drill, which we our guys love, our competition drill. So it's a 3-on-2 on one end, transitional, with the 2 other forwards waiting on the other side. So there's only 2 defenders on each side that can be there. And here's the drill. So green's attacking the 2 whites. The other 2 whites are waiting at the middle of the ice. 1 green stays there to defend, and then when that puck's going to transition from one side to the other, 1 green will come down and defend his own end. And the purpose of this drill is right here. White gets the puck, middle lane drive, score an opportunity. So the objective on this one is obviously speed again, which is transitional, game situation, decisions with the puck, and then one of the biggest focus is the compete and the fun aspect of this drill. Any questions?
Any questions for Phil? Thanks, Phil. Now we'll move on here. Nick Petragula is going to talk about drills we could do for post-practice to increase goal scoring opportunities for you in practice.
Okay. Yeah, you got that. Thanks. Okay, so what I put together here is, like Casey said, drills that you can work on with probably 1 to 4 players after practice. You always have a couple guys that don't have to go off to class. They have a few extra minutes, probably 5 to 15 minutes for most of these drills. I have a series, I think I have 12 videos here, so I'll go through them pretty quickly. But if you have too many guys, this doesn't work because you don't get the reps in. In these drills, there's no goaltenders. This is usually done on poor ice conditions. And really the focus is just on scoring fundamentals, shooting. Pretty much all of the drills you'll see will talk about body posture and just being ready, setting your feet, shooting with your legs, really shooting with your entire body. One thing, we had a player that graduated a few years ago that we learned a lot from, Cody Murphy. He wasn't an elite player, an elite goal scorer, but he could really shoot the puck. And the one thing I learned from Cody is that he treated every single shot like it was the most important shot he ever had. So he always set his feet, he'd shoot with his entire body, he'd drive his legs, he'd use his core, his arms, his wrist. And a lot of guys, they have lazy habits. They'll just be all arms, all wrists. We have a guy on our team right now that's a goal scorer that's working through some of that stuff. But that's something we're constantly working on after practice. Also, quick releases, shooting with a purpose, so you're not just throwing the puck on net, but you have a purpose in a spot that you want to hit. And just getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations. This has been mentioned a few times throughout the week, just the use of NHL video, and we do the same thing. You watch games at night and you see something that happens, and you send a text out or a group chat where you're showing a clip that maybe it's exactly the drill that you're working on in practice. And what that does is that validates why you're working on it and showing them that you're doing this for a reason. This stuff happens all the time. You want to master your craft. You want to get better at your game. It's just focusing on these details. So really what these drills are just things that happen all of the time. They're all very simple, and it's just mastering the execution so that when it comes time for that situation to come up in a game, you're comfortable with it, you can execute. So go through it here. First one, just bounce and roll, handling, bouncing and rolling pucks, getting comfortable using your feet to help control pucks out of your wheelhouse, shooting from awkward positions. So what I'm doing here is just bouncing and rolling pucks in all different spots here. This is Anthony Lewis, who just graduated. And he's a kid. You'll see the difference between him and the other kids in these clips. He's obviously a guy that just graduated. He worked on this stuff all of the time, and it's not a coincidence that your best players probably put in the most time. So just, going back. So just bouncing and rolling pucks, using your skates to corral them, one-timing them when possible. And he's really good at using his feet and underhandling pucks and obviously getting off quality shots and hitting his spots. He has his head up a lot. And really the big thing here is just setting your feet, driving your legs. That's really the one common thing that'll come up in all of these drills is using your feet. And this is from the other side. We'll probably incorporate a little bit of the backhand as well. And if you just watch closely, you can see how he uses his whole body, and he always has those feet set, and he's not drifting when he's shooting. Next drill, baseball. This is just swatting pucks out of the air, so I'm just going to toss them up, simulating maybe a rebound off a goalie's shoulder or off the glass behind the net. This actually happens all the time. Just keeping your knees bent, focusing on your footwork, not just the eye-hand coordination, but just swatting pucks around the net front. We'll do this for a few minutes after practice, and again, it's not complicated. Next phase of that, swat and shoot. So this is just corralling a puck that's out of the air, settling it down, underhandling it. Setting your feet to reposition your body and deliver a quality shot as quickly as possible. And this is Gordy Green. This is a kid that probably has the worst shot on our team. But to give him credit, he's an offensive player that knows he needs to improve that. He works on this stuff every single day after practice. He never misses. Hands turnover, just changing the location of the puck near the crease to improve your scoring angle. Again, focusing on your footwork. So I'll just slide pucks out, and it's really a pull and shoot. We have the tires there to simulate a goalie's pad, so you have to get elevation. And if you just notice the footwork, taking a step there to improve your angle and also load off that leg and deliver a quality shot. And if you watch, too, the way I'm rolling the pucks in, some of them I'll slide, some of them I'll roll, some of them I'll bounce. So it's really being able to handle any type of puck that comes into your area and changing the location and getting it elevated quickly. And I think that step is really important because when you do it with just your hands, you don't have as much range. You don't get as quality of a shot off. So the footwork's very important. In-tight finish is really very similar to that. Just pucks scattered in the crease. And we usually do this one right before we're picking up pucks and just taking those steps, getting elevation. I think a key point here is pulling the puck out of the paint. to improve your shooting angle and give yourself more space to elevate. Any shots that come inside the paint are a lot tougher to get up because the goalies will smother it and not give you as much. And again, the last part of that clip is a real nice job by Anthony. He has a good habits of staying on the puck. The one hit the crossbar, and he doesn't quit on it. He stays with it. I should have continued that out. Maybe I stopped it because he missed it. End wall elevation. This is just pucks off the end wall and elevating upstairs. I think an important point here is if you watch his body positioning, so we'll send a direct pass to keep the player honest, but staying square to the puck where the puck originally comes from, so you're not cheating the drill and you're working on that body rotation and handling pucks off the end wall. And this will be done from both sides. Sometimes you have the ability to one-time it, but most importantly, you want to put yourself in a position where you can execute, whether it's a one-timer or you have to take that split second to corral the puck. These are just hard passes, backdoor. This is a situation that comes up all the time. The reason we work on this a lot is you don't want to be the guy that gets a backdoor pass on an open net and you can't finish it because your stick isn't strong enough or your skills aren't developed enough. So this is as simple as it gets, but just delivering hard passes, backdoor, keeping yourself above the paint so the angle is there because goalies will take away passes through the paint, and really just setting your feet and having a strong stick and getting some elevation and one-timing from a ready position. And then we'll put some touch on it, so you have to handle pucks that bounce. And when you do this after practice and the ice is even worse, I think you get a little bit more out of it because you handle tougher pucks. And obviously the one-timers, going one knee down, being able to use your feet and use your legs to stop pucks that maybe you miss with your stick. And again, these are pucks that, in situations, you don't want to miss these opportunities when you get them. So it's important just to work the habits and get your reps in. Stick pressure shooting, just applying pressure like you're tied up in front. So putting a lot of pressure on the stick, the shaft of the stick that they have to shoot through. Hard for them to get a lot on these shots, but really just finding a way to get the puck on net, having a strong stick, getting low. And then the second phase of this is getting into the player a little bit, whether it's hooking them, slashing them, tripping them. I wouldn't do this with a player that doesn't like you or you don't like, get yourself fired, but we'll do. Is that Coach Morris? So don't do this one. We actually used to do this with your son all the time and had no problems. So, but yeah, it's just working in tight, being able to battle off a little pressure and find a way to get the puck on the net. One-timer high tip rotation. So we have a guy in the corner just delivering one-time passes. So Anthony's in the slot here. So he'll rotate from a one-timer to a high tip option where he's presenting his stick. And this is really where, if you focus where he's shooting the pucks, he's very purposeful. He's working the far side of the net with his one-timers, trying to hit a specific spot, and he's very good at it. So he has that consistency. He knows when he gets these shots in a game that he knows where he's going with it. And he'll work different parts of the net, but in this instance, he's shooting far side and then has the stick presentation on the high tips. Rush one-timers, this is something we do pretty much every pregame skate. It's the last thing we'll finish with. When we do a forward D split, we'll work this in for 5 minutes. And this is really simulating a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 with a weak side guy coming through the dot. And it's just that long pass that you have to have the ability to get your body around it, stay square to the puck, and finish. We have the tires down there forcing elevation. And one thing that really drives me crazy is players that don't look like they want the puck. When you have these opportunities come up in a game, you're on a 2-on-1, you're on a 3-on-2, look like you want it. So call for it, put your body in position where you're square with the puck and you can set your feet and you can hammer it and get your elevation and drive your legs. And again, after you take that shot, not drifting by the goal line. So just having good habits. And obviously you have to do it both ways, whether it's a full one-timer or just a cross-body one-touch. And this is something we do all the time, and see, that's even a bad pass. Another thing, if I go back, what we have our passers do is have them move as well, because when you just have stationary passing in a drill like this, it's not really realistic. So when you have your players doing it, just passers are moving, they're focusing on putting pucks in the right areas, delivering good passes. And then after you go through this for a little bit, we put 2 sticks down, you see in between the hash marks, just to force them to deliver a little bit of a touch pass. Some of our players struggle more than others, but it's important to work these fundamentals. And then we'll also talk about adding in deception and simulating game situations with the passers as well. Loose puck pickup, this is just, we have the players on the dots here. 2 nets, one is facing the other. I would say the net that's backwards is probably halfway in the crease, and that just is taking away some of the space, and you'll see we're just throwing pucks off the base of the net, and it's basically outweighting the goalie here, taking a step, creating a new angle, and then stopping in front too. Just good habits so you're not drifting past the net. And when they're going to the net, obviously it's an unpredictable bounce. They can go either direction, and they're just keeping their eyes on those pucks and having their sticks ready and picking those up as they come off the base. Next drill is very similar. It's really the same thing, except now you're going to the net, you're creating traffic. So you're hustling to the net front, you stop, your traffic, it goes through you, you pick it up, turn around, take a step, outweight the goalie, get elevation. And again, staying on pucks, if you miss or there's a rebound, you're in good position for a second opportunity. And then this is a thing we do sometimes at the end, just a little stick battle competition. We have a deflection board there. If you imagine a line just kind of halfway through the net, this is sticks only, so there's no physical contact or battle. It's just a stick battle where we'll toss a puck up and it's a 50-50 and the 2 players battle with their stick, and you create a little game out of it and the guys have fun with it. Usually we say you have to go upstairs or top shelf to get a point, and you'll play to 5. And this is one of those things that we'll do for a couple minutes just as the Zamboni's getting ready to come out. You can toss the pucks as well. If you watch this closely, the player in black dominates the drill, so this wouldn't even be close if it was a competition. And that's usually the way it goes for that player in red. So, any questions? Okay.
Bill, I don't mean to do this for you here, but we're going to add one speaker in here for the group.
Go for it.
One of the concepts here, we got, I'm not going to spend too much time introducing him, but Scotty Bowman's here, and he's going to talk about bench management.
I'll get interrupted by Scotty Bowman anytime.
Thank you. Yeah, Barry Smith asked me to come and say hello to you guys, and I've always had a special affinity for college hockey, although I went the other route. I guess it started, oh my God, about 60 years ago. Ned Harkness was at RPI. He tried to recruit me. I was only 17, but I had two things I couldn't do. We didn't have enough money. My parents weren't able to send me. He said, it doesn't matter. He said, come on. By Christmas, the alumni will be looking after you, but I didn't go. And it was strange because it was RPI, and I saw Dave Smith, who was with, I live in Buffalo in the summer, and Dave's the new coach there, and I said, you still can't recruit me. I never was going to be an engineer. In those days, you had to go to the engineering school. But I went junior, as I said, for those reasons, and then I got a bad injury, and but I had a lot of connections with college people. The first one I had was with the late Ron Mason. He played junior for me in Peterborough, back in the late 50s. In those days, you could play junior. I think they changed it around 1980, but Ron wasn't going to be an NHL player, so he played 1 year, and then he went to St. Lawrence, and as you know what happened, he coached the Lake Superior State and then Bowling Green, and then he was a great coach at Michigan State, and so I've had some other people that I got to know quite a bit, as you know. After that, Red Berenson played for me in St. Louis. We were fortunate; we got him in a trade. He became one of the best players in the West Division for at least 3 or 4 years, and then Red went to St. Louis and won the President's Trophy. And a year later, they let him go, which was a bad mistake, I'm sure. And I had the good fortune of having Red with me for 1 year in Buffalo. We had really young players. 3 of the players he had a dramatic effect on for only 1 year. Phil Housley, who became a Hall of Fame player, a defenseman. Dave Andrechuk, who's not in the Hall of Fame, but someday may get there, should be there. And Tom Barrasso was a high school goalie that we got out of Acton Boxborough in Boston and came into the NHL the next year and won the Rookie of the Year and won the Vezina Trophy. It's an amazing story. So I got to know these college people, and the late Bob Johnson. I was coaching Montreal, and I went up to Wisconsin 1 year, and I met Bob Johnson, and then later got hooked up with Bob in Pittsburgh. And I know the impact of college hockey, what it's meant to people, and I'm rambling a bit, but I also want to congratulate Jim Montgomery on the championship this year with Denver. So college hockey, when I first started, it was not an impact in the NHL, but it's such a big impact now. And I know it's a tough row with these players that come in so good today, and then they end up not staying very long and get into the NHL, and they show how good they are. But I was always a stickler. I don't know where I started. I think it was probably the person that was my mentor when I first started. Was a great coach in Montreal, told Blake the importance of, in those days, I think it was more important and when I first started than it is now, because of the speed of the game, the short shifts. But he gave me some drills that I used to use. I had a football horn, and I used it right till my days in Detroit. And what I was always impressing on the players is when you get a little fatigued on the ice, I don't know if it would be as much today because you have the tag up, you can get off easier, the short shifts. But when I watch hockey today, I don't know, I'm looking at so many poor line changes. Guys they stay out there for 30, 40 seconds, they're gassed, so they say, hang with it, I'm going to the bench. And it doesn't matter if there's a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1, they're gone to the bench. And that used to bother me as a coach. So what I used to do at the end of the practices, I'd have a very short scrimmage. I had two teams, red and white. It was with Detroit, and I would say to them, I'm gonna let you know. I had one horn for one team and two for the other, and whatever team you were on, I would let you know when I felt it was time to think about changing. And of course, I didn't want you changing when I blew the horn, but I wanted you all to think about that we're all in the same position for the most part. Sometimes it'd be a quick line change, and the forwards would be ahead of the defenseman, but I'd blow the horn, one blow or two blows. And from that point on, I wanted the players to whoever not to take away a scoring chance. I used to blow it when the puck was in one end or in the other end, didn't matter. And I would blow the horn, and that would be putting them all on notice for that team that you're all thinking the same way. We're tired. We're going to try to make a line change and try to put the puck in the right place. I'd learned about when the benches were on the same side. I started coaching when the benches were across from each other. It was different, but when they're on the same side, especially in the first and third period, making sure I put the puck in a corner if they could possibly. And they all thought the same way, but you could never change more than a couple at a time. Maybe I'd change two forwards and leave the lead guy, probably the center. In those days, used the forecheck, and I would blow the horn. They'd all know what they were trying to do, and they would throw it in, and they would get to the bench I mean, they had to. I had them trying to sprint to the bench. Now in practice they would do it. We know that. During the games, then they would slow down a little bit. Well, we had a lot of good players, and especially if we got some young players in there, I would, if they just 10 feet from the bench and they're just slowly coming off, I would just the odd time skip the next shift, just tap somebody else. And I'd say, no, you were too tired to come to the bench. I'm going to make you miss a shift. And they improved a lot on. I really think the team that changes the best in a game has an edge. I really believe if you can get your team changing the right way. It's hard now, I know, because of the quickness of the game and the way that the players are so well conditioned, but they do get fatigued, and they come off at I think a lot of times they come off at the wrong time. But I used to use that horn, and we did it a few times a week. We would just practice line changes, and the other guys would have to come on, and we had different assignments. It was easy for the defensemen, especially the defenseman closest to the bench in the first and third period. It was never a problem for that guy to get off. But and I've had some great defensemen play for me in the different places I was at. But I was always amazed that at the hockey IQ is a guy like Nick Lidstrom, who won all those Norris trophies, because we played at our home, especially at home. We're playing at the Joe Louis Arena. Nick was a left defenseman, and he played on the far side. And the only time he had a bit of an advantage was in the second period, because even though it was a long change, he was still closer to the bench. But I worked with those guys that needed a little. I mean, we had good people on our staff, Barry and Dave Lewis, and they used to work with Nick Lidstrom, and he very rarely come off at the wrong time. You know from coaching your defensemen that sometimes they're coming off at the wrong time, and mistakes will happen. But I really believe that even today, if you could get your players to sink in a little bit when they're coming to the bench, that is it that hard to take two more good strides to get your ass off the bench and get the next guy on, and not leave him with the misfortune of trying to catch everybody? But I'm pleased that I was invited to come and see you guys, and I know that college hockey plays a big part in the NHL with the way you're developing players, and I always tell people it's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. I mean, you get a superstar, and I know you get him for a year or two, and then maybe he's good enough to go in the NHL. I only hope that they don't bring guys out too early, and then they don't make the NHL, and they're sitting around. And I know it's tough now with the way agents are. And I also had a connection when I went to Buffalo with another fellow who is so successful now, rebuilding the Toronto Maple Leafs, Lou Lamoriello. And Lou was the coach of Providence when I was in Buffalo, and then he later became the AD. And Lou always represented in those days, players played right up to seniors, and I found him a very fair. I was the manager of the team, negotiating contracts. Fellas like Gates Orlando, who was one of his real proteges, and he was always a fair guy. He represented his seniors when they came to turn pro. So I've had a lot of good connections with people in the college hockey. I respect you an awful lot for the job you do, and congratulate Red Berenson on his long career. I didn't realize when he left us in 1984 that he would stay in the 30-something years with one team, but he played at Michigan, and he went back home and did a terrific job. So congratulations to all you coaches, and good luck. Thank you.
Thanks, Scotty. We'll go with move on with Bill Moore. He's going to do a face-off, please.
Yeah, I think one thing in my life, I've been very lucky. This is my 30th year coaching, and 28 of those years I've been a head coach, which is, very, very lucky in that state of the game. But I'd also like to say that some of you younger guys that are putting your time in, one of the downsides of being a head coach for 28 of the 30 years is I didn't get a lot of mentoring. I had basically one mentor my whole coaching career, and that was Don Olson, who I love with all my heart. And so some of you that are putting your time in now, take advantage of all the different ideas and things that you can see. I guess I bring that up because early in my career, I didn't realize then how stupid I was. And face-offs are probably the biggest thing. You know, you go in the locker room in between periods and you tell your centers, hey, we got to win more face-offs. We got to get the puck more. But how much time did you really practice it during the week? How much, you know, do you just expect your centers to go out on their own time and drop some pucks? Or do you actually put some time into your practice plan? And the game today is so much about puck control. And if you don't win faceoffs, you're chasing all the time. And whether the plays work or not, that's one thing. But having control of the puck is the name of the game. And if you don't put time into your practices to work on faceoffs, not only with the center trying to win the draw straight up, but you guys know how many times the puck goes for a neutral draw and there's no wing support to come in and help them. So all of a sudden your center gets a loss when really it could have been a neutral draw or even a win. But again, I didn't realize how dumb I was expecting us to win faceoffs and not putting enough time into practice for that. Also, and obviously technology has increased greatly during my career. The opportunity to use video to research the tendencies of other teams before you play them is a big part of what you do with your face-off plays and things like that. Keys during the game: one, obviously a face-off play can't work if you don't win the draw. You got to have the intention of controlling the puck where you want it in order for the play to work. The other thing that's vital is you got to have communication. If your players don't know what is going on, and the center might think this is going on, and the wing might think this, and the D might think that, obviously the play can't work if you don't have communication. So one of the things that we do is we don't really design one play. We design types of plays. So the first set of plays that we have we call the swing series. And we have 3 or 4 different plays off of the swing series. That way the players are all making the same movement for each of the different times. And basically the option of what we're doing with the puck is up to the play call at the beginning. And I'll show you what I mean by that. The first one that we have, sorry, as my career goes on, I can't look at things without my cheaters. This first one, the right wing is going to swing to the left side of the dot. The left wing is going to swing to the right side and try to create a passing lane from the D. The center is going to go to the front of net, so we have a net front presence, and the D has to try to find the passing lane. As we design it, you'll look at, we want to really have the left wing be a left-handed shot, the right wing being a right-handed shot, and the defenseman, it isn't as important, but I like them to be on their offhands so that they have a better passing lane without it being picked off. And again, we can look at this, and I'll bet if I ask how many people in here do something like this, 90% of you would raise your hand, and the reason is because we all take them from each other. And no, you know, we're not going to be pioneers in this whole set of series, but it's all about whether we think about it, whether we remember it. And again, as we get older, it's harder to remember all of those things. So as we look at it, we win it back. Our left wing goes to try to find the passing lane and goes in for the shot. Again, I would have liked our right wing to get out a little farther, but he's open and available for a one-timer if the left wing chooses to give it back. So you look at here, the left wing is getting ready to get the puck. I wish the right wing was turned just a little. 10 is our right wing. So that if if the wing there gave it back to him, he would have the opportunity as the one-timer. But again, I think the key is that they're going to the same place no matter which way we intend the puck to go. The second one is basically the same thing, the left wing slide. And the way we define things is we'll call the swing, and that's the series that we're working with. And when we call it swing left, that means the left wing is going to get it. We don't want to be confusing by the left side of the rink, right side of the rink. It's that way the left wing knows that he's the intended target. Now, is it going to go to the left wing? We hope so, but you guys know how it is. It's a moving play. You don't know if that lane is going to be open. You don't know if it's going to be an option. So the other guys have to be ready for it as well. So again, down low, the right wing and left wing are basically doing the same thing. The center is doing the same thing. This time, the puck is coming back to the D. He's making a D to D pass. On the middle D here, what we'd really like the middle D to do is fake a shot so that he draws that block out and then dish it off for the one-timer. Again, I didn't bother putting video in here because I talk so much anyway that I knew I needed to get done on this one. But it's the same play as the last one. It's just being fed by the middle D rather than the board side D. The right swing, or swing right, is again the same movement by the downsided guys. The left wing is going to the right side. The right wing is going to the left side. The center is going to the middle of the net. This time the defenseman's walking it to the middle, and he's going to bring it back to the same side to the right wing for the one-timer or an open shot. You see here the center wins it back, and actually the wing slides over. He's a little farther out than I'd like, but obviously I'm not going to argue with the Red Wings, and they scored, so every time they score it was a good play. So again, they bring the guy out. He gets it off quickly. Notice, again, without net front presence, the play isn't going to work. It's an easy save for the goaltender. So as much as you want your win to be important, the movement of your defenseman to be important, the guys in front of the net need to make sure that it isn't a difficult, or make it more difficult for that goaltender as well. Again, same thing. This time it's a swing back to that same side using a D to D pass. So I guess the one thing we try to get through our guys is just because the board side D isn't able to get it where it needs to be doesn't mean the play is dead. Because if the guy comes out at him quickly and has his pass blocked or has his lane checked, he can always go D to D and we can put it back where we intended anyway. So again, it's just making sure people are ready, are aware. And I think one of the things that helps us the most is the fact that when we do the swing series, everybody's making the same movement, and therefore they don't have to think about it as much. And anytime I can get my guys to not think about it, I'm a lot happier. We have another play that we use that on times when our centers are not doing very well, our wings are not doing very well, or I'll just use, for example, one of our opponents, St. John's, had a center that was dominant with the face-offs, and it didn't matter what we were doing, he was going to win the draw no matter what. So we go into what we call the automatic loss, and we don't even intend to win this face-off. Their D is going to try to draw it back to the corner, and if he doesn't, we'll even push it there and help him. But this wing doesn't try to come in. He doesn't do anything along the boards. He goes straight for the puck. The right wing goes straight behind the net, and we try to get a push pass to take control back. Now, you can make this a shot play by hitting the D coming down to the top of the circles, but most of the time when we do an automatic loss, we're just trying to gain control over a puck that we don't think we're going to get control of because the center either is struggling or the other team has a center that is just dominating, whatever the case may be. And again, I'm showing all of these on the left-hand side Obviously, they could be done just as easily on the right-hand side as they are on the left. We could talk about face-off plays for an hour, maybe more. So I just took some situational play and decided that one of the best ways that we talk about to kill penalties is to get that opening face-off and try and get it down the ice and waste the first 20 to 25 seconds and cut that penalty from a 2-minute penalty to a minute and a half. And so we have some different face-off plays that we use. The first one, we call it the wing push, and the center will win the puck back. The defenseman on the boards will go and just make an easy push pass behind the net, but it isn't the defenseman that goes back there because we know the forechecker is going to go with that guy. The defenseman's going to tie up, and we're going to drop our other forward back. And so when we're on the draw, this guy that they have that is their potential right winger is probably going to come through, make some kind of a movement to try to win the puck if we win the draw. So we want our D to engage with that player, and then we want our wing to drop back and look for the icing call. Most of the time we would like the wing in the corner to be on his offhand so that he can easily one-time it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be if they make a good push pass. So here we win the draw back. The D is a little premature in pushing it back, so our wing didn't have as much time to get where he wanted to be as he could have, but it still worked. If you watch their guy comes in. By the time he realizes it's a push pass, it's too late for him to get to that other side, and we get to clear the puck. It would be a lot easier if our D hadn't pushed it so hard, but at least he gets it off the boards and down the ice. The push pass we find is probably the easiest play to get down, and it's because those inside wingers try to be so aggressive on the forecheck to get it back that sometimes they don't think about covering and maintaining the width of the rink. So we like that play. It works for us more often than not.